You've just accessed Hardware is Forever, your source for the expert insights, ideas, and innovations you need to do more in the electronics manufacturing industry. From optimization to operations, join us as we put the pieces together for a better approach to manufacturing. Let's go.
Welcome back to Hardware is Forever. I'm Chris Bentliff, and I'm with Jay Patel, who is the CEO at Amtech, and we are continuing our discussion on the 14 points of management from W. Edwards Deming. And I love this one. Jay, Principle 10 is eliminate slogans, cheerleading, and targets. What does he mean? So we shouldn't have those posters on the wall. We shouldn't have the cat hanging upside down that said today is a tough day or something. We shouldn't rah-rah, support each other, cheer each other on. Why are slogans the wrong thing? Why can't we cheerlead? What do you think he means, and how do you interpret it?
So I think a really good analogy is that I am going to lose weight and I am going to get the clothes I want to fit into today, and I'm going to start wearing them, whether I fit into them or not. Right? Like I want to live the result before putting the effort into getting to the result. And I think there's a big difference. There's this fallacy of achieving and getting there rather than actually working and changing myself to get there. Yes, I can go out and buy those clothes. I can't wear them. I have to earn the right to wear those, a size down clothes or whatever it may be. I have to earn the right to wear that. I just cannot go out and do this. And how do I do that? Through diet, through exercise, through being mindful of what I eat, when I eat, how I eat, all those type of things. And I think that's very similar to this, is like, we can get excited and create all these slogans, is like, we want to be the best place we want our company to be the best place to work for everybody, voted one of the top places to work. We want our company to be uber profitable. We want our company to grow year over year at a great level that other people may not think it's manageable. We want to do all these type of different things, but just by saying it and pushing it and say, hey, we're supposed to be doing this. Why aren't you doing that? That doesn't provide guidance. What provides guidance is living it, imbibing it, creating a plan, listening to people, and then removing obstacles so then we can naturally get there.
I love this. I love this idea of walking the walk versus talking the talk. And it's a lot easier to just talk the talk. But what's the problem with that? So maybe it's aspirational for me to buy the clothes that I don't fit into, and I'm just going to start wearing them, already, or to sort of pretend that I'm living that life. Maybe it's a fake it till you make it kind of a thing. What's the problem with kind of these, in digital marketing? I'll work with a lot of organizations, and somebody will have some sort of, this is our tagline or this is our slogan. And inevitably it's something like whatever, the best in the business or something. And I always challenge that with, so how is that different? Who's out there saying we're medium in the business, or we're not quite as good in the business? Like, what about this is different or is special that's making you differentiated? What's the problem with kind of these vague talking the talk?
I think it's a good North Star. But it is not to be expected. Leadership should not expect this from everybody in the organization, that, they need to change and they need to be better. When these things happen, leadership's role is to communicate that this is what our goals are. This is what's going to help us get there. And we are going to, and these things that we say help us get the right mindset. But we are going to work with you to make sure that you achieve that. You are not on your own. We are here with you. And it is our responsibility, kind of talking about going back to the servant leadership concept, it is our responsibility to get you there. I think that's where we need to, it is just not management's responsibility to create the slogans and the targets and cheerlead. That is not the function of leadership. That is not where it ends. Yes, should they create those slogans? Yes. Should they cheerlead? Yes. Should they create those targets? Yes. But it is leadership's responsibility to see those targets come true. It is not to be, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. You got a quarter to do it. And just like, I don't want to hear it. Don't tell me anything. Just make sure it happens by the end of the quarter. That is not a leadership's role. And it's easy to do. It's easy to say things like that. Like, we're going to go to the moon. We're going to do these type of things. And I don't think that it's easy to say, but the effort needs to be there to back it up.
I think that's a good point. Two things come to mind for me. One is I've seen organizations anyway where some slogan, some mantra, something, 2 mil by 22 or whatever becomes kind of this stake in the ground, but it's not based in reality at all. And so it seems like maybe a stretch goal, or it seems like something exciting for us to all sort of rally around, but the facts just aren't there. Whatever it is, the market dynamics or our ability to generate or whatever just isn't there. That goes right back to what we were talking about in our last episode around creating barriers. That kind of thing from leadership that isn't grounded in the real world. These slogans that can become agents of suspicion. They can make people not rally. They can make people turn their heads and start to lose morale. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. I feel like, leadership is not a position of luxury. It is a position of guiding. And, people think that once they become the C-suite or VP or something like that, life is good. And that's what they want to aspire for. And are there luxuries you can afford at that point? Yes. But when it comes to your job function, it is not something that people people don't come to you only to answer to you. You are there working with them. And I think that's where this really is just by saying, declaring an order or a slogan or a target is not it. You have to go into the trenches and work with the people and make sure that they are able, and through training, through education, through getting the right processes, to getting the right equipment and tools to be able to hit those targets. Then ultimately, we're leadership for a reason, right? Is because we've had the experience, we've been gifted, we've had the opportunities to do it. So we should act like it then.
What does that mean? How should leadership act in such a way so that the responsibility is either shared or is on them to smooth this out for the rank and file, for for those that are out there doing the work, rather than expecting those that are out there doing the work to figure out how to make this stuff?
I think going back to it, what Deming was saying is it's our responsibility to remove the obstacle that prevents us from hitting the targets or living the slogan that we have. It is our responsibility as leadership to do that. We cannot expect the guys out on the shop floor, because frankly, they're doing a good job at what they're doing, but they don't see the bigger picture. As leadership, we do. So we need to be able to communicate that bigger picture and remove that obstacle so we can achieve what the company needs to do to grow and thrive.
How do we find that sweet spot I'm thinking about, sometimes an organization will have some big campaign, and to get everybody fired up, somebody will visit every branch, or they'll all wear t-shirts and have a big party, and it'll be the big kickoff of the big campaign. My problem with stuff like that is it can create the illusion of action. Like all the planning for the planning made us feel like we were getting somewhere, and now the work has to be done. But that's good energy. So how do we balance kind of this desire to excite and be enthusiastic? And maybe that's where the slogans and cheerleaders have a positive sort of intention with, no, we just got to get the work done. We got to focus on the thing that's important, and the poster on the wall isn't going to get us there.
Yeah, I think it has to become personal. And the only way it becomes personal is if you have human interaction with each other. You can have these big kickoff events. Nobody's saying no, get the t-shirts, have the pizza parties, do all that kind of stuff. But then at the end, that is a kickoff event, right? What are we kicking off? We're kicking off this campaign or these targets that we want to achieve. And the only way to get that done is if you go to the people who are actually helping you achieve it and removing obstacles from that. So it's a kickoff, but you still need that personal touch, you need that communication, you need that feedback loop to make sure that we're changing to hit those targets. Because if we would have been able to hit those targets by now, we wouldn't have had to make them targets or create slogans or cheerleading. It has to be an intentional effort for us to change to be able to get to that point.
That's a really good point. And leaders have to answer what is going to change, what is going to be different between where we were and where we want to be, that this slogan is even coming up. You make a really good point around having leadership understand that vision and then build the framework for that vision. When you think about where you've been as a CEO and kind of your journey, which you've been so open about, how does something like this fit in. I wouldn't necessarily think if I'm going to put 14 points of management together, one of those things I need to absolutely address is let's stop with slogans. Like, is that really important? But as we dig into it, we realize what we mean and where it goes. As you've grown kind of as a CEO, how does something like this how does it raise its flag for you? How does it raise its hand for you? Do you see this and you have to really kind of, well, what's the meaning in that? Or is that a problem that you've seen, this kind of overexcitement and this kind of approach from Deming gives you a framework to sort of address it yourself?
Yeah, I think the theater of life, we celebrate wins and we celebrate success a lot. And then in those things, when we see the highlight of the success that gets there, it goes back to everybody looks at the Super Bowl winner, right? But they never look at, you see that moment, or when they win the championship, or when they win the race, or when their business succeeds, but they never see the hours of work that go into getting them to that pinnacle. And even at the Super Bowl, the people who lost, their efforts are not to be ignored. They are to be appreciated too, and they're not to be marginalized by any means. And I think that's where when a leader is not fully, and I'll say it, and I'll say it about myself, is when a leader is not fully mature about life, about what it takes to achieve things, it is very easy, and they're sheltered from, what happens on a day-to-day basis on their production floor, or whatever, maybe where they add value. It is very easy to just do this and disconnect themselves from it. And I feel like when you are mature enough and understand that it is not just to create a theater of leadership through slogans and cheerleadings and target, because that's what we see. We see, when we hear about Elon Musk, and we hear about, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and these goals that they have. And we listen to, we watch a show for an hour or read their book or whatever it may be. These are the things that are highlighted. So then if I want to be like these guys achieved it, and if I want to achieve it, I have to be like them. Yeah, we learned that, but that is just a summary of what they did. They can never, ever actually, Michael Jordan, all those guys, Kobe Bryant, they cannot capture the amount of work that happens outside of those times that they gave the slogans, or they were cheerleading, or created those targets. That is what needs to get celebrated. And a good leader understands that the change happens not in the highlights and not in the theater of business or the theater of life. It is when the curtains are closed, and it happens in rehearsal and happens during practice on a day-to-day basis.
That's a great illustration. It's a really good point. You mentioned Steve Jobs, and we see him on the stage when he would be introducing some new product, and it's all razzle dazzle, but we don't see the hours and hours of engineering, sweat and blood and tears that went into getting to the point where he can hold some device up on stage and it looks like it was magically created, or Jordan or Kobe Bryant. That's really sexy though. That's really alluring, that theater, which I love. That's a great analogy. How do you as a leader temper that? Because that can be encouraging, or that can be like watching Jordan hit the final shot at the buzzer. That makes me want to go out and shoot buckets. But how do you temper that with, but do I want to sit here for the next 6 hours and shoot 1,000 free throws because that's what it takes?
I think that's what life teaches you, and that's what the maturity is. Reading Good to Great, they talk about level 5 leaders. All these different things. It's like, what is real leadership? What does it really look like? And then it's like, fine, live in the limelight and try it. Try the slogans, try the cheerleading, try the targets, see where it gets you. And where it gets you? It doesn't get you very far. And, the school of hard knocks will teach you that this is not the way to grow your organization and be a good leader. And some people will accept that. Some people will not. They'll have tantrums and, play victim to it. But I think the great leaders will learn from it. And, even greater leaders of this generation, next generation, will look to these other people and understand their struggles and learn from their struggles, so they don't have to go through this cycle anymore. So we just have to be really, really, and another thing is who you're surrounding yourself with. You got to get your top 5. Everybody has their top 5. All the great people are the top 5 who will humble you all the time. And the people who didn't have their top 5, who didn't have the people humbling them, we've heard all the stories about them and how they've had to, they're at the pinnacle of leadership, and or the pinnacle of their craft, whatever it may be, and then they came crashing down because they got a little bit overconfident. And I think just surrounding yourself with really great people, having a growth mindset, knowing that you don't know everything, all those things really grow into making a great leader.
Jay Patel is the CEO at Amtech. I love these conversations, and thanks as always for your generosity and sharing your kind of journey and perspective with us on this stuff. It's really valuable insights, and it helps me to position some of these points from Deming into, I don't know, a modern context or a relevant context, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers and followers. Consider becoming one today wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Hardware is Forever is designed, tested, engineered, and built by the manufacturing experts at Amtech. Learn more and let us help you envision your next project with a free Design for Manufacturing assessment at buildamtech.com/DFM.